That's nearly $2 billion, and that's money that's going to be spent on improving safety, enhancing mobility, and improving economic growth and development in the state of Mississippi.
Yeah, and with this historic funding from the legislature, new construction will be popping up all over Mississippi.
MDOT presents the Extra Mile Podcast.
Men and women of the Department of Transportation are up to the task and up to make sure that we deliver a product that the taxpayers can be proud of. So I'm ready for us to go to work.
Welcome into another edition of the Extra Mile Podcast presented by the Mississippi Department of Transportation. I'm MDOT Deputy Director of Public Affairs, Paul Catul, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Will Kraft. He is the Director of Public Affairs at MDOT. And Will, it is summer travel time.
It is.
We want Mississippians to get out on the highways, on the interstates, and explore the great state of Mississippi. There's plenty to do, see, hear, eat. And with that in mind, we are here in Greenwood, Mississippi to speak with State Senator Lydia Chassaniol, and she chairs the Senate Tourism Committee. She represents District 14, which is Attala, Carroll, Grenada, LaFleur, Montgomery, Panola, Tallahatchie, and Yalobusha counties.
Get it all out.
Senator Chassaniol, thank you so much for hosting us. First of all, tell us where we are in Greenwood. Tell us about the building.
You are in a wonderful historic building on Howard Street in Greenwood. My husband's cotton office was here for many years. He's retired from actively selling cotton, but he is still maintaining his office. And this used to be a bank. In days gone by, and now it's been renovated and it's used as an office building. So I think it's wonderful that you came to this historic site and that we were able to visit.
It's
here.
very neat. He was even giving us some context, some history, and some old stories from back in the day, looking at some of the old pictures and things.
Yes.
Notice it said his grandfather being the first ever president of the Greenwood Cotton Exchange back in 1927.
That's absolutely correct. And here's a painting I actually did for him years ago that shows his grandfather and the famous Chicken Will Edwards when they were working together years ago. Chicken Will was famous for his grilled chicken, and I think he fed the entire Delta Council one time. He was just that good a cook, and so well loved. So
that's very neat, very neat.
Food and Delta and cotton and good times all just roll together.
And
we love it.
As you mentioned, we are proud to be here. So now this is you part of your district, correct?
Yes, absolutely. This is in my district, and there's probably a vote for me sign somewhere around here. But
I'm sure. I think we probably passed one coming in. That's right.
I hope so.
Well, Ms. Lydia, again, thank you so much for joining us, taking time, and hosting us. It's really neat to be here in this cool space. We'll get into kind of some of your legislative service. It's obviously not your first rodeo. Been doing it for a little while, since 2007 in the Senate at least.
That's correct. Been in the Senate since 2007, so I've put 17 years of service in.
And in the blink of an eye, too. Right?
And it's been, yes, it has gone by very quickly, and it's been wonderful to be able to serve the people. And the only committee I've ever chaired is tourism, so if you ask me questions outside of that committee, I may have to call somebody, may have to phone a friend for help.
Unfortunately, that is exactly what we want to talk about, tourism, and all of your efforts. I know that you've been working on all kinds of stuff. You mentioned a couple of really cool, fun things that you guys are working on right now.
That's right.
Let's hear about them.
Well, let's see.
Specifically, one that you're talking about, the culinary travel.
Yes. You know, Mississippi has some of the finest food in the nation.
We agree.
If you don't believe that, you can always see where we rate amongst the folks who are probably the heaviest in the nation. That shows that we've got good food and we like to eat it. But I've been talking with some people, specifically Dr. Darrell Jones and Dr. Rachel Carter, who are two professors at Mississippi State University. Now, I'm an Ole Miss girl, but I want everyone to know I'm happy to work with people from all our universities. And Dr. Jones and Dr. Carter and I are trying to put together an idea that will actually teach people how to cook Mississippi cuisine. There's several programs in other countries. Bali, for example, has a program where the matriarchs of families will bring tourists in and will actually show them how they cook for their families and teach people the technical and the true way to prepare that cuisine. So I think that's extremely exciting. We're looking at the opportunities to partner with towns all over the state. For example, the cuisine in northern parts of Mississippi are totally different from Delta food, and certainly different from the food along the coastal areas. So my idea is the longer we can keep people traveling around Mississippi on our roadways, thank you very much, MDOT.
There we go.
The longer they will stay here. This is beneficial in a lot of ways. As you probably know, Mississippi has, in my experience, had a lot of bad press. And if you want to make friends with people, give them something good to eat, sit down and let them get to know you, let them visit with your family. What could be a better way to introduce people to the real Mississippi?
I love it.
So, Viking Range Corporation, which is situated here in Greenwood, many people may know about that. Just down this street a little farther, I'll ride you past there in a minute, they have the Viking Cooking School. They also have the Alluvian Hotel, which is right across the street, that has a wonderful restaurant affiliated with it. Many people come to Greenwood for the experience of the Viking Cooking School, for the experience of staying at the Alluvian, eating in that restaurant, going to the spa across the way. I mean, it's a nice getaway. And, of course, since I cook all the time, I have Viking products in my kitchen. I mean, I'm a cook. I actually enjoy cooking at a restaurant years ago. And it's wonderful that we have these products in Mississippi and these opportunities. What the Viking Cooking School does is take people who've come for a getaway, and it's more of a social experience than a real culinary immersion, like Mississippi culinary immersion. But it does give people an opportunity to cook, have fun, share a meal, sometimes with people they know, sometimes with people they've just met.
Yeah.
So this culinary experience to me is a great seller for the state of Mississippi.
I would participate even not being a tour,
Well,
from out of state.
here's the deal. I think the Viking Cooking School is booked up like a year in advance.
Oh, wow.
So if you wanted to just join, maybe you and your wife or you and some friends wanted to join, my goodness, you have to book a year in advance now. A lot of people don't plan that far ahead, but I'm delighted that business is so good.
Yeah.
And that people are enjoying the experience of coming and cooking on really fine equipment made right here in Mississippi, and that we're able to promote our state and a positive social experience like that.
I love that.
So that's part of what's going on. But the culinary tourism, stay tuned. We're going to meet with some executives from Viking and also Dr. Carter and Dr. Jones, and we're going to see what we can put together, and then work with our towns to further this experience and move it on. And if we can get a plan together, I'm going to ask for some funding, because not only is it a good way to bring tourists to Mississippi, it is a good way to sell Mississippi in a very positive light.
I agree. And then it kind of jumps right into the next product or initiative you were telling me about, kind of that town-to-town marketing that you see.
Thank you for reminding me of this.
Yeah.
When I was newly elected to the Senate, Blake Wilson was over the Mississippi Economic Council, and he gave a talk to all of his senators, and he said, of course, he's from up in the Northeast, and he said, Pennsylvania has a great plan for promoting their tourism. My ears kind of pricked up. He said they have the Amish country, and said every town Chamber of Commerce, since the Amish people aren't allowed to advertise, the chambers of commerce will say, see this authentic Amish bakery, or see this authentic Amish farm, and this. Not only will they promote that town, but they'll say, and 10 miles down the road, there is another Amish attraction. So they are continually moving people down the road. And as people go and stop, they are once again having a cultural experience that's positive. They're having a fun time. I mean, when tourists want something fun to do, something interesting to look at, a good meal, and a safe place to stay. And it's pretty simple, because once they have those things in place, they'll either come back or they'll send their friends this way, which is good. I think Highway 82, town-to-town marketing, and of course my district is in the middle of Highway 82.
That's right.
From Columbus to Greenville, think of all the things we have to show. And this is a good road, thank you, MDOT. You have a college right there in Columbus. Guess what? Another college right there in Starkville. There's lots of tourism attached to sporting events, the sort of cultural events that colleges frequently host. I heard Merle Haggard in Starkville, Mississippi before he passed away, and that was very cultural. Then along this way, we also have the blues markers and blues trail. And when you get to Indianola, guess what? There's the B.B. King Museum.
Yeah.
Even Greenwood, Mississippi, right here, has a wonderful museum of the Mississippi Delta. I was just visiting out there last week. It's incredible what all. They put on a little show called The 3rd of June, Another Sleepy, Dusty Delta Day. Does anybody know what that's from?
I think I've heard that before.
Yeah, they made a movie about it too, Ode to Billy Joe, famous song from a Mississippi girl. And Eden Brent, who is a terrific singer from Greenville, came and performed. People brought lawn chairs. The catfish guy brought his food truck up from Itabena. We all had a great time. And it was just a wonderful time of fellowship, music, and celebrating our culture in a very positive way.
And that's
But
what we
all
like.
of this is on Highway 82.
Yeah.
And you get over to Greenville, good Lord, you've got the Mississippi River, and I've never been in one, but I hear they have casinos there. I'm teasing. Of course, I've been in a casino. I chair tourism. So also all of these churches along this way are fabulous. I have often thought if I could get some of these church groups together and do a stained glass tour. Imagine the things that people could see just here along Highway 82, and that's just one little slice of Mississippi.
Drew actually mentioned how beautiful one of the churches were as we were coming into town today.
They are. We have extraordinarily beautiful churches all along Highway 82, from Columbus to Greenville. And so I'm just holding these examples up to you. There are plenty more places that we can talk about.
Those are good ones.
No doubt,
Plenty
no
more.
doubt. So we're talking summer travel. Be remiss if we didn't mention MDOT's travel resources, the MDOT traffic app, mdottraffic.com. Jump on there, get to where you want to be safely, delay-free. So you mentioned some things to do in the area. Talk about other parts of the state. Where are your favorite places to visit, travel, do,
I
see?
just recently led a delegation to 2 towns south of here. We went to Ocean Springs because I think that's a really cool place. As I mentioned, I'm a painter. I taught art for a long time. And the Walter Anderson Museum is in Ocean Springs. Well, if you want to see a real treasure, that's a great place to go. Plus, we were looking at Ocean Springs from the standpoint of what's good about a small town. Ocean Springs is near, just across the bridge, Biloxi, where all the glitter and glamour is. But there are not any casinos in Ocean Springs, but the town's hopping. They have 60 restaurants in this little town. They have a wonderful, walkable shopping district. There's some cool, we stayed at a place called The Roost.
Oh, really?
A friend of mine is the manager. He used to work for a large casino, but got burned out with all the, during COVID, I think he was actually having to make beds. And so he's now the general manager of The Roost. And that's a quaint boutique hotel in Ocean Springs. Had a great time there. They sent some people over. Judy Young, who's the head of Coastal Mississippi Tourism, sent some guys over in vintage cars, 60s cars. And the guy that took me for a ride was driving a Mercury that was just like the cool car that a guy I dated in high school had. So it was just deja vu all over again, as they say. It was a wonderful experience. The coast is a great place to travel, but I always want folks to see the commonalities we have. Ocean Springs goes to the Gulf of Mexico. Greenwood, we've got rivers here.
That's right.
Greenville, go to the really big river. As the head of the Walter Anderson Museum said, the Mississippi River is America's Nile. And that's a cool way to think about it.
It is.
We're hoping we can collaborate and maybe do some work with that museum and our museum and maybe put together some collaborative projects. So that's something we're working on. The other place we went recently, same group of people, Laurel. You know what's happened to Laurel? If you've got a TV, you've turned it on, and Hometown is the show. We were invited to come for their 100th wrap party, the 100th building, that our home or office. They're doing a little of everything down there.
Wow.
I mean, everyone, we need to clone the Napiers. The things that they have done for Laurel, Mississippi is just extraordinary. It's extraordinary. They've taken what they have, fixed it up, and now people from all over the world are watching this program, and they are coming to Mississippi. A lot of people want to move there. They found out the housing market. Let's say, I have $1 million to spend. That would buy you a mansion in Mississippi. In California, you'd probably get a doghouse. So, these people are excited to come here, and we're so nice. Laurel also has a good food culture. We ate lunch at a place called the Buzzard's Roost.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and that was the coolest place. My favorite appetizer I've had in a long time, and listen to this, fried chicken skids, and they were delicious.
Oh, I can go with that.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
I mean, you talk about making lemonade out of lemons. Who wants to eat a chicken skin? Well, you go to the Buzzard's Roost, you'll go back for some more. They were great.
I think I could be for that, yeah.
Yeah, so that was super. And, they have a food truck culture in Laurel, which is good. One of the best things I saw, though, is they have kind of a green space area. And we were walking up to the workshop where they do a lot of the work on the buildings. They'll do a design piece for one of the houses that they're redoing. And I said, this green space is artificial turf, isn't it? And they said, yeah. I said, well, it looks kind of different. What are those markings on there? And they said, oh, in its previous life, this AstroTurf used to be the practice field for LSU, and we bought it from them
wow.
and put it down to use in our green space. So I thought, hey, how sustainable is that? Otherwise, it was just gone into a junk heap somewhere, and yet they put it down, and now tourists from all over the world are walking on it. And they repurpose things, and that's what we need to do more of in Mississippi.
That's pretty neat.
Isn't that cool?
I'm telling you, we just keep finding out all these fun facts
I
from
mean,
this
so
lady.
these
Love
are
it.
places that aren't in my district, but the folks are wonderful, and they're doing all sorts of good things all over the state. But that's just two examples I wanted to share with you.
And those are great. examples.
Fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. And then just, we're talking about summer travel and running around and favorite places, favorite things to see. What about a favorite food spot?
All righty, boys. I'm so glad you asked. We are going to leave here shortly and go to my favorite place in the world. It's the Crystal Grill. It's right here in Greenwood, Mississippi. I think Kat Cora, who is a famous Mississippi chef, on one of those programs, The Best Thing I Ever Ate, she said it was the lemon icebox pie from the Crystal Grill.
That's what we've heard.
Yeah, the Ballas family's been doing this for a long time. And, of course, my husband, being a Greenwood native, eats there frequently. And I think they sort of keep a spot open for him.
Can't blame him.
Yeah, but the food's good, and that's what I like about it. It's hometown. It's real cuisine. And if you go there today, the gumbo or the vegetable soup or the salad, it'll be the same if you go back in 6 months or a year. That's the beauty of it, consistency. And, that's what people want. Most tourists don't pack a lunch for a week's trip somewhere. And so we're trying to get people circling around in Mississippi. A lot of times people will come into Memphis at the airport and rent a van. Asian people do this a lot. There are all these cool places in these towns where you can rent a loft apartment for a couple of days. They'll come in from Memphis, circle around, visit the B.B. King Museum, come over here, visit the Illusion. They keep traveling around. Then finally, after they've gotten down to the coast, they'll fly back home. Now, you can fly out of a good Mississippi airport on the coast. The Gulfport Biloxi Airport's a very nice international airport. Or if you want to drive over into enemy territory, go right over to New Orleans and you can fly out of there. But we want folks to come here, have a positive experience, and then go back and say, gosh, those people in Mississippi are great.
Yeah.
And I haven't even talked about Natchez or Vicksburg yet, but they're both great too. So we've got a lot of river, got a lot of cool things to see all along the way. East Mississippi, I would be remiss if I didn't say Marty Stewart, to me, is just the greatest thing. He has taken Philadelphia, Mississippi, put his money where his mouth is, and he's fixing that place up. He's got the Congress of Country Music. It's my friend Jennifer Branning, who is the senator from over there, has been very supportive of his efforts. And it's going to get people traveling all around. We have the Country Music Trail, which I'm on their commission. We have the Blues Trail. We have literary geniuses from Mississippi. So anytime people says, oh, you don't have any culture in Mississippi, just think, well, you don't know what culture is. We got lots of it. We want people to come see it.
That's right.
And travel on our good roads that MDOT prepares for us.
Absolutely.
There is no doubt about that. We love the great state of Mississippi. Visit Mississippi, as they say.
Yeah.
So you kind of touched on music a little bit, so we've got one more question for you.
Okay.
Favorite musician, band, concert, what do you have for us?
Oh, well, I've got so many favorite musicians. Of course, I love Marty Stewart. He put on a one-man show for some of us legislators at a theater in Philadelphia back during the session. Everybody knows that Marty is a genius as far as music history and country music history because he worked with the great Johnny Cash. But he has his own band, the Superlatives, and they are superlative. But having said that, Marty got up there. He had 2 guitars. One he'd gotten from Hank Williams Jr., one had belonged to Johnny Cash, and he had a mandolin. You know, usually Orange Blossom Special, for you country music folks, is played on a violin because, you know, you can do all. He played it on the mandolin, and I thought, good heavens,
wow.
I had no idea what a virtuoso this guy was. I mean, his fingers were smoking when he got through it. It was that good. One of my favorite musicians is somebody that's going to help me with a fundraiser in Winona this next month. Her name's Akilah Hudnall. She used to be my attorney at the Capitol, and she got lured away to do some lobbying for a power company. But she's also an extraordinary musician, so she is volunteering to come and help us raise money for a new animal shelter.
Okay.
I mean, isn't that great? We're going to do dinner and a show for Fido. I'm the cook, Akilah's the musician, and the people that belong to the animal advocacy group are going to wait the tables and wash the dishes. I said, if I cook this stuff, y'all are cleaning up.
That's a fair deal. That's a fair trade. I got to say, so Marty Stewart, you're talking about him. So his and Ricky Skaggs' work back in the day, Kentucky Thunder, some of those bluegrass specials was kind of my introduction into music.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I fell in love with bluegrass and country.
Oh, yeah.
At my grandmother's house, listening to some of those things.
It's the purest music, purest American music form.
And exactly as you said, though, I can remember just being blown away, kind of astounded. But this is before I even started playing guitars and music myself. How does he move his hands that fast? You know?
I'll have to say this. This is always my joke. I used to play flute and piccolo. And when I was in high school, my mother was going to send me to an all-girls school up in northeast Mississippi. I'm not going to name it because I don't want anybody to say, well, she didn't want to go there. But I didn't think I would fit in. Let me just put it this way. So the band director from Ole Miss came running around the high schools auditioning for people, and he said, why don't you audition for the band at Ole Miss? You might get a scholarship. I went up there and auditioned, got a scholarship. So I said, gee, Mama, I'm sorry. I've already signed this scholarship intent to go to Ole Miss, so I can't go to the college you wanted me to go to. But it was great. When I was there, Archie Manning was the quarterback, and I said Archie was on the field 4 quarters, and I was out there at halftime, so it worked out to be great.
Had entertainment from get-go.
Had a wonderful time. So, yes, I'm very appreciative of music and the opportunities it has afforded me.
That's awesome.
Yes.
I appreciate that. And I guess to kind of close out, Paul, if you have anything else, absolutely. But one thing I did just want to mention, as you sort of alluded to, but we have learned since we got here, I did not know about the art background that you had, and so we actually propped up an original piece right here behind you.
Oh, that's right.
That we have stolen. I don't know. We're attempting to buy right now. We're going to take this back for the podcast room, but an original piece. So I had no idea. Very pretty work.
I have done a couple of pieces of art for my husband, besides the one of his grandfather and the famous Chicken Will Edwards. That is the Tallahatchie Bridge. Yeah. You know, Ode to Billy Joe. Billy Joe jumped off the Tallahatchie River Bridge. Well, standing on this, this is a print, actually. I think Emmett has the painting somewhere else, but standing on this bridge are my husband and one of his longtime friends, Luther Wade, who actually played football with Archie Manning.
Oh, nice.
And a couple of years after this picture was made, I had to paint it from a little tiny Polaroid that they had. The bridge fell in, so I'm glad I did the painting because the bridge is no more.
I thought so too, and it's just it looks really cool. I'm excited to take that.
I am so glad y'all, yes, please take that back.
We are, we absolutely
take that back. I want y'all to have a print, and I'll sign it for you if you like.
Yes, we love that. We're going to get you to sign our board here too as well.
With pleasure.
Perfect.
Thank you, ma'am. So, Senator Chassaniol, thank you so much for coming on the show, telling us about the wealth of cultural assets in the state of Mississippi. There are many. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, it was my great pleasure. Look, Mississippi is the best place on earth. Come see us.
Absolutely. That's a great message. We'll just wrap things up right there. Thank you to our listeners, our viewers, for tuning in to the Extra Mile podcast. You can watch and listen to episodes by visiting gomdot.com/the extra mile. Follow us on social media at Mississippi DOT is the handle. We'll wrap things there. Remember to drive smart out there on Mississippi highways.